Peace, Sugar Shack family, and welcome to this episode of We Can Just Make That. Today we're going to be talking about butter. In fact, we're going to make butter. Butter is so easy to make that once you learn how to make butter today, you'll probably make butter more than you'll go to the store and buy it. It's just so simple, and I think we don't think about how it's made, but let's talk about that. This show is all about learning how to make homemade foods, learning how to prepare things at home that we buy in the grocery store that might not be so good for our physical health, but especially our mental health. And so I want to start this show out by giving an assignment. And my assignment is to locate a farmer or the farmers that are closest to you. Doesn't matter where you're at, even if you're in San Francisco. I'm from San Francisco, and a lot of times we say we don't know a farmer or there are no farmers close, but that's not necessarily true. We could cross the bridge and go to North Moran or go to Sonoma. There are lots of farmers in Petaluma. So our assignment is to locate the farmers that are closest to us. And then our follow-up assignment is to get to know those farmers. The reason I say that is because the best milk, the best heavy cream, we make butter out of heavy cream, right, which is a part of milk. The best milk that we can get is probably from a farmer that we get to know. Why? Because then we get to learn how that farmer raises their animals and what is put into the ground that the cows or the sheep or the goat eat that will eventually become the milk. And so for that reason alone, get to know a farmer. When you start to think a little bit bigger, you can think about buying meat from a farmer, buying vegetables from a farmer. In the Bay Area, there are fantastic farmers markets. That's a great place to start to get to know a farmer. So I just want to put that assignment out there before we get started, because the first ingredient, and really the only ingredient to pure butter, if we're just talking about butter, is heavy cream. And so for us, I have a quart of heavy cream in this food processor. I'm gonna make butter in this food processor today. You don't have to have a food processor to make butter. You can make butter in a blender. You can make butter with a handheld mixer, with the bowl mixer. And you can even make butter with a mason jar, just shaking it back and forth, and even putting a marble in and shaking the marble back and forth. That is the method that takes a little bit more time. Nonetheless, that's a way to make butter. And when we think about it, our ancestors made butter and they didn't have all these fancy gadgets. So know that butter is a simple food and it's simple to make. But for today, we'll use this food processor, and again, we have 1 quart of heavy cream in this food processor. Now the steps. We are going to turn the food processor on, and the heavy cream is going to go to whipped cream, and then it's going to get thicker and thicker and thicker, and then we're going to produce butter. So we'll take you on this journey. I'll stop a couple of times. We'll show you the whipped cream, and then we'll show you what it looks like as the cream turns to butter. So here we go. I won't keep the camera on the whole time while we're blending, because in this food processor, it's going to take about 8 minutes for the process to complete, and it's loud, of course. So we'll turn this on, and then we'll turn the camera off and come back. Okay, and so now we have achieved whipping cream. So this is what it looks like after a few minutes when it turns to whipping cream. And let me just get my spatula so I can show you. It's very thick whipping cream. So now we're gonna take it to butter. Stay tuned. And you will see here that what we have now is butter. It looks a little different, but let's explore it just a little bit more. Get that off of there. So if I pick it up, see, I can form a patty. But if you'll notice, as I pick it up, I'm gonna pick a lot of this up so I can get the blade out and show you something interesting. So Let's just get this blade out of here. So of course, if you were making butter for other people, you would not be digging in here with your hands like I am doing. But this is just gonna be our little butter. And these are very clean hands. But what I wanted to bring your attention to is the liquid here on the bottom. That liquid is buttermilk. So just a few caveats. Hold on 1 minute, I'm washing my hands. These clean hands. Just a few things about this buttermilk. This is buttermilk, the milk from the butter making process, but it is not exactly like you would buy in the grocery store, because buttermilk in the grocery store is cultured. So it has a more sour taste, but this is buttermilk and it is useful. Some people actually like to drink the buttermilk. Others like to use it in baking. It can go in all kinds of baking, and it might even be better. Like I like to make buttermilk rolls, sourdough rolls, and this isn't so sour tasting. So it can be better in some recipes that require buttermilk. Up to you, it's a taste thing. This is buttermilk from, we've been making butter for a couple of days now. Here we freeze the butter. We used some of the butter earlier when we rehydrated some eggs that we had. So I'm gonna move this over. We don't want buttermilk in our butter because it will cause our butter to go sour faster, right? We don't want liquid in our butter. We wanna get it all out if we can. And so I'm gonna pour a little bit more. I'm gonna push down a little bit more. There's lots of buttermilk in here. We wanna get out as much as we can. And so now what we're gonna do is wash the butter. To get the rest of the milk out, we're gonna wash the butter. We're gonna wash it maybe 3 times until the water comes clear. And so we're gonna use, it's hot here in Louisiana where I am, and we're gonna use a colder water to wash it. Let's move these things over. So if you can see now, the first run, the water's cloudy. I'm gonna pour it out, play around with the butter a little bit. Put some more water in. It's still cloudy water. I'm gonna pour it out. Wash it a little bit more. We want this butter milk out because we want our butter to last longer. So let's do it one more time. See, the water is starting to get a little bit clearer, which is what we want. Clear water. Now look at that. That's very clear. We'll let this be the last time. Let's come back over here. So now what we have is butter. This is the time that you would salt your butter, that you would season your butter with whatever you want. We're gonna put a little bit of salt in it to draw, just a little bit, to draw out the excess liquids. And if I wanted to make garlic butter, garlic and herb butter, cinnamon butter, I don't know if you've been to a bagel spot that has cinnamon butter, but it's so good. This is the time when you would do that. So you would just come here and mix that salt in. I'm gonna just pour that remaining water out. And because I am going to shape my butter, I'm not gonna roll it. You'll see some people roll it, put it in plastic wrap and all of that. I'm going to make mine into a form that I would get at the store, because that's how I like my butter. I like to put it in a butter tray, or I like to know how much butter I'm using in a recipe. So I have these little trays, and they have the marks on them, just like at, you know, the wrapper at the store, where you can know if you have 1 tablespoon or 8 tablespoons of butter. And then my butter just comes out prettier, in my opinion. and easier to handle, in my opinion. Still have a little bit of liquids coming out, so I'll pour it out when I can. So another thing I could have done is just to let this sit, which I probably will, for a few minutes so some more of the liquid can come out. The good news is that we eat lots of butter here. We love butter in everything. Tortillas. Like I said, Fitz was making eggs this morning in a video, so we love our butter. But then who doesn't love butter? I just saw on another channel a recipe I want to do. It was brown butter tomatoes, and it looked amazing. So maybe I'm gonna just drain this. Maybe we will use some of our butter to make that. And just give me a second to wash my hands. Because I want to show you what the finished butter will look like. This is the butter we're gonna put in the refrigerator, but we'll let this sit out for a while. While we get rid of some more of the fluid. But here is what a finished block of this butter looks like. It's so good, so fresh. You can freeze it, and I want to show you, if you could just stay on the butter, I want to grab some butter out, because I have one more tip. I am going to add this stick of butter from earlier to my frozen butter. This is frozen butter here. Let's put this one in, and that'll be the last one for this bag. What I want to show you is this bag. So here at the Sugar Shack, we are trying our best to stay away from plastic. The marker's coming off, but we don't want to do plastic whenever we cannot do plastic. And so these freezer bags right here are compostable, and they're not plastic. In fact, they even say move post plastic. So we're so inundated. If you've been following science, if the conversation around forever chemicals, we now know that humans, they are detecting plastic in our blood, forever chemicals, and there's not much we can really do about it at this point, other than try to stop exposing ourselves to so much plastic. But where is plastic? For example, plastic would be in a bag that we put in the freezer, but not this one. This is just a bag. This is just a bag that I got from Whole Foods. You can reuse it. One of the things I like, I have parchment paper by the same brand. I think it's just called Compost. And I have larger freezer bags, but this is one thing. But when you think about it, when we think about the polyesters and how we move to clothes with polyesters and our sheets and the things that are around our house, they are all made from plastic. So wherever we go, whatever we're doing, we're touching plastic. Try your best to make small moves to get away from plastic. It could be something so small as this. The next step might be to get rid of plastic bowls in your house and replace them with glass bowls. This is glass. This is glass. See, our mason jars are glass. So we are with you in this effort to try and reduce the amount of plastic that we come into contact with. It's not something you can do overnight. We're still working on ways to not drink so much bottled water, because we do that. But let's do that together. So I did want to show you that this is going to be frozen now. So right now I have 4 sticks of butter in here, 4 more that are going in the refrigerator. And this is like a half one we played around with earlier. So easy to make butter. Whenever you can, make your own and play around with it and play around with flavors. We're here at the Sugar Shack in Louisiana. So many of you may feel connected to a farmer. Many of you may not. Want to give a shout out to one of our local farms, Mr. Gober's farm. Gober, it's called Driftwood Farm, and there you can buy meat. So if you live in Southwest Louisiana, you are able to buy beef and lamb from Driftwood Farms. They also have duck and other things. So again, my assignment is to get connected to a farmer. I use the San Francisco example because I'm from San Francisco, and I know a city mindset is that we don't have access to farmers. But no matter where you are, if I'm talking to you and you're in New York, or if you're in Miami, you will be surprised how close a farmer is. There's a big movement to homesteading, so there may be some new people in your community who are growing food, or better yet, you may be the person that becomes the new homesteader that starts to produce food for the community. So thank you so much for joining this episode of We Can Just Make That and learning how to make butter with us. Stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you.